What are the main things that those with good mental health prioritize to maintain that state? In this video, I'm going to break down the habits of those that protect and manage their mental health effectively and the key changes we can all implement today to help get us back in control of our own emotional and psychological well-being. I'm Tim Box, and this is the top 5 habits of people with good mental health. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach, and for more than a decade now, I've been working full-time with people to help them overcome all manner of emotional, psychological, and mental health issues. In that time, I've developed a pretty good idea of the mistakes to avoid when it comes to managing our own mental health, and perhaps more importantly, a good idea of what I regard to be the most effective strategies that don't just get our mental health back on track, but help keep it there permanently. So, let's get into it. There's a pervading idea that when it comes to mental health, some will naturally struggle and some won't. We're often presented with a story about mental health that it's all about genetics and chemicals, leaving us with little direct control over the amount of influence we can exert on our own psychological well-being. Whilst there's no doubt that some will get dealt a tougher hand than others, it's a little unfair to say that those that haven't experienced any mental health issues, that the only reason for that is luck. We shouldn't rule out the idea that another reason why some manage to maintain good mental health is because they actually take the steps to protect their mental health a little better than others. Mental health and emotional well-being is an area that most of us will neglect at some time in our lives, and will most likely feel the psychological effects of doing so. Yet when people say they have never struggled emotionally or mentally, we assume that's because they've been blessed with a more robust mental constitution than those that have, or they've just never really been through tough times. We seldom entertain the idea that perhaps their mental wellness is no accident, and that perhaps they might be the ones to learn from when it comes to managing our own mental health. As someone that hasn't always had a handle on my own thoughts, feelings and responses, I recognise that my current comparatively healthy mental state is in no small part down to my attentiveness in making sure I implement the right strategies for managing and maintaining the very best mental health that I can. With that in mind, here are, in no particular order, the top 5 habits of people with good mental health. The world is full of other people. These other people all have their own goals, concerns and issues they care about. It happens quite often in life that some people will try and make us care about their stuff as much as they do. And whether it's a conversation at work, a post on social media, or a call from a friend in need, there are a whole range of ways that we will potentially find ourselves starting to get dragged into caring about situations that aren't actually ours to take care of. People who regularly struggle with anxiety issues will often be in the habit of running themselves into the ground emotionally and physically, sacrificing their own concerns to help others with theirs. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with helping others. After all, it's nice to be nice, except when we start to become overwhelmed and begin to struggle to maintain our own health as a result of spreading our limited emotional resources over too wide an area. Maintaining boundaries is essential. If we fail to recognise the importance of our basic self-care and place no limits on how far we will go to help others, we just set ourselves up for emotional and psychological burnout. Self-care is not selfish, and as much as you might want to help others, if you destroy yourself in the process, you can't help anyone. Remember that time when we all thought the mind and the body were entirely separate? No, me neither. It's no secret that damage we take emotionally has an impact on us physically, and perhaps more importantly for the sake of this video, any damage we take physically impacts upon us psychologically. The mind-body connection is to be ignored at our peril. There's a reason why many people advocate working out, going for a run, or eating healthily as part of their regular mental health maintenance. It's because when we feel good physically, it inevitably has a knock-on effect mentally. In the same way that we feel better after a good night's sleep than a night of lying awake, when we feel good physically, we feel much more capable of dealing with life's challenges than when we're ill or physically below par. Also, when we adopt an attitude of regular self-care, this can very quickly start to influence our attitude towards our own self-worth. Regularly scheduling time to maintain our physical health boosts our self-esteem for a number of reasons, not least because taking the necessary steps towards our personal improvement demonstrates an attitude that suggests we're worth it. A major cause of mental health struggles is low self-esteem. One of the big drivers of low self-esteem is an attachment to the idea of perfectionism, this constant fire we put under ourselves to be better, not because of any ambition or desire to achieve, but because in our own eyes, we just never seem to be quite good enough. The problem with this idea is that the need to be perfect before we can feel happy dooms us to perpetual unhappiness. We're human beings, and as such, we will never be perfect. To set the bar so high condemns us to feel like a constant failure. However, if you look at those with good mental health, they very often also have that desire to improve. The thing that enables this to be a positive is that they do this on the understanding that they will never achieve perfection. There will always be more to learn, and that's okay. We will never move beyond a version of ourselves that makes mistakes. But if we accept each mistake as a valuable piece of learning that has in some way helped us level up a little, then every step, whether it be right or wrong, simply boosts our self-esteem rather than destroys it. This is why you see high achievers advocate a constant desire to learn. They're less concerned with their perceived shortcomings and more concerned with their potential for growth. The bottom line here is that who you are right now is good enough. And the great news is that you're only going to get better with every new experience that teaches you something. So keep learning, not because you're not yet good enough, but because it's exciting to get better. How many times have I mentioned this next point in a video? When people ask me what's the one thing they could do right now to impact positively on their mental health, I always say, stop beating yourself up. I think we sometimes get the idea that the achievers in life are achieving because they constantly crack the whip of self-discipline on themselves. We think they're happy because they run their shit with an iron fist and demand better of themselves with a regular barrage of motivational self-abuse. We've all seen films where the army drill sergeant screams at the new recruits and motivates them by telling them they're worthless and need to do better. We might even have experienced parents or teachers shouting at us to inspire more effort or better responses. Yet, when it comes to self-care, this doesn't work. Our mind is inspired to do better by positive feedback. Think about it. When did you last feel at your best, like you were doing pretty well and could go on to do better? Probably when someone said how well you'd already done, or expressed an appreciation of your efforts. Good mental health is fostered by positive self-talk, not by self-castigation. Remember, if you beat yourself up, you just end up beaten. If you build yourself up, you just grow bigger and better and feel good about yourself whilst doing it. We'll often fall into the trap of trying to comfort ourselves or feel better by pursuing the transient and meaningless moments of happiness. We eat the cake, we smoke the cigarette, we buy the thing we didn't really need and will never use. We do this because we're naturally designed and programmed to pursue happiness. However, we unfortunately often fall into the trap of thinking that happiness is all about what we currently have, what we're currently doing, or who we're currently with. The problem here is that all of these things are transient. They come and go. My mental health improved vastly once I came to the conclusion that true lasting happiness comes not from being happy with what I have, but from being happy with who I am. For all the things that come and go in my life, I know that every morning I will wake up and still be me. So I need to make sure that I'm happy with who that is. If I can become happy with who I am, then no matter what life is throwing at me at any given time, whether I'm up or down, I know that however dissatisfied I am with what I'm going through, I'm happy with who I am in the midst of it. So when I'm making decisions about where to put my emotional energy, I'm always going to try and steer those efforts towards the things that improve me and help me grow as a person. Yes, I can see my flaws, and as we said before, I know I'm not perfect. But if I can be happy with who I am right now, then the next steps towards personal growth become all the more exciting. Good mental health very often starts with establishing a solid foundation. That foundation is to be happy with yourself as you go on this journey. If you look at the other 4 items on this list, they are all geared towards that one goal. I once attended a business seminar, and the guy at the front of the room was very fond of saying, "Don't wait until you're thirsty to dig your well." Now, he was referring to marketing strategy here. Don't wait until you're desperate for new clients to start advertising. The time to advertise is when you're busy so that the new clients don't run out. But we can apply this principle to mental health as well. People who have good mental health are generally those that haven't waited to reach breaking point before they start to safeguard their emotional well-being. They just apply these principles regularly so they don't reach that breaking point. You might be watching this video because you're currently struggling. If so, it's never too late to put safeguards in place and start to adopt better habits. But if you're in a good place right now, then this is the perfect time to upgrade the way you safeguard your mental health so that you protect yourself and don't leave yourself vulnerable to any future struggles. So, what will you change as a result of watching this video? Let me know in the comments below. And please, ask any questions you need answered. I do my very best to reply to all the comments on my videos. Guys, I hope this one has been of value. Please hit that thumbs up button if you like what I do, and why not subscribe to the channel for weekly mind management tips and anxiety advice. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.